it, or the other side of Dunedin, you may, for whatever reason, not want this project to be there, but you're not directly impacted by it. You know, and the three impacts that there are: traffic in the neighborhood solved, traffic in general, we're going to commit to doing whatever the township or the county engineer requires, and third, visual impact is only the 10 or 11 houses that directly abut the property. And so everything else is irrelevant in terms of supposed impacts from this development. What's not irrelevant is the economic benefit that the township derives from this. Going back to the school board, what people have forgotten here is that these payments to the Deer Park school system are not just this money up front to air-conditioned high school. They go on in perpetuity. As long as that school district is there, and as long as there's real estate on this site, there will continue to be payments made to the school board, and they go up every 10 years. And by the way, any excess cash flow that might accrue from this development based on increasing values over time also goes to the school board. So when one of the people talked about continued operating expenses for the school district, the tax payments that we're going to make go on and on and on. And so when you're looking at operating a school district like that, it's not this one-time payment. Sure, there might be other ways to do that, but you know, the school board looked at it and said, hey, I've got current needs and I have future needs, and we're really responding to both of those.
Let me ask you one final question. In terms of the quality of design, the quality of architecture, the quality of construction, how will this project compare with the entire Kenwood Road corridor, all the way from the intersection of Kenwood Road and I-71 overhead, all the way up to Galbraith Road? In terms of quality, how will this project compare?
Well, we are, whether good or bad, we have chosen generally to develop communities that are very high, upscale, and high quality. That's really all we can do in a Class A+ location, because the market and the neighborhoods and the whole kind of fabric of those communities won't allow us to do something that's inferior in quality. And so the product that we build here will be the best product in this area by far. It will be the office building, hotel building, restaurants will be comparable to the other new offerings that are currently in Kenwood. Take the Kenwood collection, for example. And the multifamily will be very high end. Those are the people that we cater to. Our clientele, our demographic is young professionals, singles, married couples. We generally have very few children, but we do have a lot of empty nesters. They demand a high level of service, and they demand quality from start to finish. And so the quality of what we do is as good as it's going to get in this marketplace, and we're very proud of what we do. I have invited anybody I've talked to in the neighborhood to come down and look at the project we most recently completed in Newport, Kentucky, adjacent to Newport on the Levee. It's almost identical in density to this, and I'm proud of it that I'll take any one of you down there any day you want to go. If you want to load up a bus and go down there, I'm happy to show you any day of the week that project. It's typical of the kind of development that we do.
Thanks, Greg. Mr. Chair, that completes our presentation.
It is 10 o'clock, so Doug, do you have a question for us?
A procedural question, and that is, earlier I asked Mr. Fusero some questions about the document that his company had circulated among the neighbors regarding property values, and he said it was put together by Mr. Dial, who's here this evening. I'm quite content to stop this evening if he's going to be here tomorrow so I can question him about that document. I wanted to see whether that would be the case.
He'll be here. Absolutely. We're glad to go through that.
Can we ask a question? You were very generous. When you bought the property, you paid 2 times, 3 times, in some cases, maybe even 4 times the value of the property. So I know you were encouraged by township people to invest in our area. And I met when I ran for office, when I campaigned, I met with people at Festive Court, neighbors there. And this was about a year ago. And and as a matter of fact, the lady who invited me was Gina Bell, who was the right-hand person for Commissioner Chris Monzel. And the reason she invited me was she asked the trustees over and over again, and their neighbors did, these are the people on Festive, what's going on in Sycamore Township, what's going on in our neighborhood? Nobody, none of the trustees, nobody here in the building apparently would get back to them. So I met with them, about 15 people, and I told them what I knew, which wasn't a whole lot at that time, but apparently more than what the township could tell them. Then after the election, I met with a group of about 15 to 20 neighbors, and they wanted to talk with me about what was going on, and I explained to them, it's not gonna be a green space, something is gonna happen in that plot of land there. So don't expect it to be a green space. Tell me what you would accept. What would you expect? What would you accept them to do? And then I'll tell the developers, and we'll get back to the developers, what do you want? Then I met with Greg, how many times? 3, 4 times we met over coffee. And every time we met, every time we talked, I asked you, would you reduce the density? And nothing. And in fact, I think it's even gotten bigger than what we initially talked about. And I asked to get rid of the, last time we met, I asked to get rid of, let's say, the hotel. Because you're at 14, Greg Pacella's, 14 is apartments. And if you see the paperwork go through his website, they're absolutely gorgeous. The apartments would be wonderful. Let me finish. I do have a question. I'm gonna get to it in a second. And then, so that's his 14. 14 is the apartment building. Now, I asked you to eliminate the hotel and give me apartments from that location. You were gonna get back to me, and apparently it didn't work, because I asked to put a pencil and paper to it. Now, what I wanna do is, I've asked you this, now I'm gonna ask you, because I asked you to downsize more than one, but never in a public setting, so I'm asking you, in this public setting, what are you willing to do to lower the density? And I don't expect you to answer that tonight if you have something in mind, but we'll be back again tomorrow night. So that I formally have asked you to do that.
Sure, I appreciate that, and as you know, I reached out to you a couple of times last week to set up a meeting as part, to continue that discussion in terms of density and what we could or could not do. The other thing that you and I talked about, with respect to the hotel, you asked me if it would be possible for us to do apartments rather than have the hotel there. And I said, yes, I would get back to you. And again, I tried to reach out to you last week. But related to that, one of the things that we looked at and we felt was critical is the amount of parking. The hotel has the least intensive use of parking of any of the uses on the site. Office building is way, way higher. The apartments are higher. The hotel for 100,000 square feet has 120 parking spaces. The other thing that's important about that, and why we were actually looking at the hotel, is that the parking for the hotel and the parking for the office building are complementary. So when office people are coming in, hotel guests are leaving. When office workers are going home, hotel visitors or guests are coming in. And so those two parking uses complement each other very well, and it actually allows us to reduce the number of parking spaces in those two garages and effectively have less parking than we would if we did the rest of that site in multifamily or an office. The other part about multifamily is it doesn't provide hotel tax revenue. The multifamily workers would not be under the JED. The office workers are in the office building. So it doesn't generate as much revenue for the township. I've taken a preliminary look at what it does to the economies, and I'm happy to bring that data tomorrow night at our meeting so we can discuss that more. The other thing that's a little bit curious to me is that this is not you, but when I met with some other folks, and you may have a chance to go through that tomorrow night, a couple of people expressed to me that, you know, I think you can get this development done, but you really don't want a hotel there. And when pressed to answer why you didn't want a hotel there, it came out to me that it was really a question of competition, and kind of a protect my turf kind of situation. So, you know, again, I think we're, from an overall revenue perspective and density perspective of what the site encompasses, we don't really have much leeway there. I can do less density in a different configuration, meaning primarily all office, but it generates 50% more vehicles. And there's no buffer between the commercial uses and the residential. So I'm inclined not to go that direction, but I'll certainly, Jim, give you as much data in response to your question tomorrow night when we get together. I appreciate the question.
Thank you.
Other questions?
If no one else has any other questions, I think it's time to call a pause in this hearing. Do we
Yeah, you
do
wanna
it by vote?
Continue to
Yeah,
continue to hear public hearing until tomorrow
Yeah,
night.
I
at
make a
6.
motion to continue the public hearing until tomorrow, 6 p.m.
Okay, do we have a second?
we have a second.
All in favor? Doug, would you call the roll, please?